Mankind encounters AI beings for the first time when a highly sophisticated program, Ares, leaves the digital world for a dangerous mission in the real world. Tron Ares is directed by Joachim Rønning and stars Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Jeff Bridges, and many more. Matt, what'd you think of Tron Ares?
I don't know if many people would know this, but I'm actually a really big fan of the Tron movies. And I'm a big defender of Tron Legacy. You know, they've pushed the boundaries time and again of digital effects, you know, obviously with the original Tron and then going to Tron Legacy, which was one of the films that pioneered really the CGI de-aging of face, in particular with Clue and Jeff Bridges' character. And so it has been 15 years since the last Tron film happened. You know, it wasn't like a raging success, but it did make enough money, I think, to warrant a sequel. And obviously it had some loose ends to tie up, I would say, or it just like alluded to a potential story that could happen afterwards. But it was also kind of closed in as well. It was kind of okay that there was nothing coming after it. So, you know, I was very excited to hear that there was going to be a new Tron film, and some stories started coming out about it in terms of like Jared Leto being the lead. And I was kind of like, you know, I don't really, for me, like, I feel like if it's going to be a sequel, like, I would really like to see the original people that were at least in Tron Legacy in it. Then I heard Greta Lee was attached, and I'm absolutely obsessed with Greta Lee. I love her as an actress.
You are obsessed with Greta Lee.
Yes, she's phenomenal. Okay.
Yeah, when she came on stage for the House of Dynamite Q&A, Matt just like exploded. So I'm
And
sorry.
she was in that movie for like 15 minutes.
No, not you, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably
I'm
5
just
minutes.
I'm just like reminded back. I'm like, oh, he does love Greta Lee.
I love her so much. Anyways, so that kind of heightened my excitement a little bit. So after seeing this film, we do have the soundtrack here because Jeffrey absolutely loves Nine Inch Nails, and we recently went to their concert in Portland, Oregon, and that was absolutely fantastic.
As a constant concert goer, amazing, like absolutely amazing. One of the coolest light shows I've ever seen, and they always put on good light shows. They somehow top themselves, but they're one of my favorite bands. The first band that I really got into, like, in my dark depressive era, that I still listen to today with the same amount of respect as I did back then, because I think that his, like, Trent Reznor's talent for composition, even in like hard-hitting industrial songs, is absolutely insanely complex and amazing.
Yeah, and so we heard the soundtrack. Obviously, it came out before the film even came out, and you just had to gobble that up.
Bumping it,
but
yeah.
you've been bumping it. It's really good.
It's great.
It's great.
And they played some of it at the show.
Now for the film.
Yeah.
This movie offended me.
Jesus,
and I don't
did
say
I like this more than you?
I don't say things like this very often, but I was very upset watching this film. By the way, we just got out of the theater, so this was literally 15 minutes ago. I have no notes.
Ago.
We drove home and we sat down to do this.
Enough time to make a martini is how much time.
And I was like, I need a beer. And here we are. I cannot think of a film that has annoyed me so deeply since probably Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, where I wanted to just walk out of that theater immediately. The only redeeming qualities about this film are Greta Lee, the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. Everything else can go.
Gillian Anderson.
No.
What?
I
love her.
I love Gillian Anderson. I'll get into her a little bit, but she is so one note in this movie, and it's no fault of her own. What they have her doing is just the stupidest arc. If any of these characters, oh my God. I have so much to go through, but the way that this movie utilizes nostalgia is so offensive to me in terms of its previous movie. You decided to make a movie 15 years later and not bring any of the characters back, make a completely new story, but then allude to all these characters in multiple different ways. This movie was so hollow. Thematically, this movie manipulates your emotions and uses like the mechanics of certain emotional beats to make you try to feel something. And I could just see right through all these things the entire time.
Why is it so bad when this movie does it? But I can think of so many more egregious examples of nostalgia bait in our culture that don't seem to bother you as much, like particularly in the Marvel and actually all of Disney, everything Disney does for the most part.
That's a great question. It's the way that nostalgia is used, and it's the way that it pays homage to the previous characters. The way that this movie begins is sort of like the way Tron Legacy begins with the television screens, and it's going through the story of how Kevin Flynn was lost and disappeared. And that's basically where we start that story. So this movie tries to do it similarly, but in the digital age. So it's like going through all these like computer screens and like digital artifacts of all these news stories and clippings. When it's doing that, it's basically explaining almost what happened between Legacy and now. And the one note that it gives Sam Flynn's character for resigning from ENCOM is for personal reasons. And this is so offensive to me for where his character ended in the previous movie, because the whole point of Tron Legacy was him like not taking care of the company that his dad founded and learning through his arc in that story that all this actually is important to him. And so he comes out of that experience with this newfound understanding of taking care of this guy. Like literally the guy who's helping run the company is literally at his doorstep at his home, like telling him how he should have a more active role in the company. That's the whole point of the film, is that he's avoiding it. And at the end he decides, yeah, I'm going to take a more active role. So for them to just write off his character as if he just left for personal reasons, I thought was just such an offensive way to just say, bye-bye, he's not back here anymore.
Yada, yada.
Yada, yada.
Yeah.
And I just hate that. This movie alludes to his character.
I'm really out of my element
And
here.
because this movie alludes to his character and other characters in that film multiple times, but it does that in that nostalgia baity way. Here's just a little bit of what you know to make you feel something without giving you anything. That's the best way of explaining how I felt about this movie.
This is your Thunderbolts.
I'm sorry. This is my Thunderbolts.
This is your Thunderbolts.
I don't think anybody on this trailer has ever seen me so mad before.
No. I will say, I mean, this movie is not good, but I thought the visual aesthetic was fantastic, and I'm not underlying that. Like, I thought that it looked amazing. If I was watching it with no dialogue and the Nine Inch Nails score, rocked. Great stuff. And then people start speaking. And the story of the movie is appallingly bad. And it is yada yada. It's like the entire thing is basically about one CEO trying to steal another CEO's code, and that's the whole story. And it's just like a series of chase sequences, and you got to go here and you got to go there, and Jared Leto is Pinocchio. He wants to be a real boy, which, by the way, which they reference in the film. By the way, if you are casting somebody who is going from being a robotic program to human, you may not want to go with Jared Leto, because he goes from robotic programming to then robotically telling you that he has feelings. So not great. I thought the story was like horrendously bad, but I really thought that like visually it had a very cool, kind of grimy but sleek cyberpunk aesthetic that I really enjoyed watching. I guess that's something, but I have no connection whatsoever to the prior films. In fact, I was exposed to Tron through the spoof of Tron on The Simpsons. And then that's when I watched Tron.
Okay.
So I didn't grow up with it or anything. I watched Tron Legacy when it came out. I, to be honest with you, really don't remember any of it. I remember not liking it very much, but loving the soundtrack. Wow, that's a flashback.
I mean, Daft Punk crushed that soundtrack.
Daft Punk crushed that soundtrack. They have a thing for making bad movies with great soundtracks. So,
Yeah.
Well, you like Tron Legacy, so I won't, yeah, whatever. Anything that offended you, I'm not going to defend the film, but I did think that visually it was quite accomplished. Just everything else was a disaster.
I mean, to have 15 years and come up with a story like this.
Well, I just kept thinking of this movie. It's funny, too, because Jared Leto is in this movie, and he's the worst part of it. But it reminds me so much of Blade Runner 2049, because Ryan Gosling's arc in that movie is virtually the same as Jared Leto's. And think of how emotionally impactful that film was versus this one.
Yeah.
You could just put those two films next to each other and see the same story and say that there's nothing wrong with the story. It's just like how you're able to visually execute your thematics and have some sort of like existential underpinning and reckoning with the characters can really do a lot. And that movie is like 40 minutes longer than this movie. So anyway, that's what I thought.
As you said, the two CEOs are kind of in a battle over this data that will bring, what's the particular word they use?
Permanence?
Yeah, permanence. So it allows all the things from the grid to come into the real world and stay here. So the problem with this movie and the narrative for me is that when this movie starts, it's about trying to get this thing of permanence. And then the whole movie is just centering itself around the objective of getting this coding. It could be engaging with some of these ideas in a more deeper fashion, but it chooses to just keep going for that. We need to get that code. We need to get that code. We need to get that code. And in that, you sacrifice so much depth when it comes to these characters.
Again, I'm sorry not to make this like a review of Blade Runner 2049, but I can't help making the comparison. Ryan Gosling doesn't say a lot in that movie, but there are scenes that are built to make you aware of how he's feeling. Like when he's visiting that, I can't remember exactly what it was, but that encampment with all of the people who are like enslaved, right? He starts to see himself in those people. He sees like the giant holograms of women and he's like staring at them and he's kind of like, shit, I'm kind of like this too. You know, there's ways that even if like the writing in that movie is pretty spare and the writing in this movie is pretty spare, but there's ways that you can show that visually and directorially without necessarily like having the characters say it. And that the movie here, you're right. It's like, it's driving so much towards a very, very simple plot mechanic without like bothering to paint like outside the lines a little bit.
Yeah.
Color outside the lines. I don't know.
And that couldn't be more apparent, I think, in Greta Lee's character. She plays Eve Kim in the film. She's the CEO of Encom. She has this background story that involves her sister, which plays very early in the film. Even her past is reduced to just this little montage of clips. It just ties everything that she is as a character to this emotional past that she has that the film just alludes to and then expects us to feel something.
Yeah.
And this movie does that a lot. It just like shows you little things and expects you to feel something without actually doing the work of making you feel it.
Yeah, there's a later climactic scene between her and Jared Leto, and she has tears in her eyes, and I'm like, girl, why you got tears in your eyes?
But I will say, in terms of Greta Lee as an actress, she is the best part of this movie in my mind.
She's a good actress. She's just as poorly written.
Yes, she's poorly written, but she elevates the source material because she comes across as super authentic and grounded that you just immediately feel something for her. Even though I have nothing deeper than that to feel about her, just like the way she appears and the way she acts in this film, you care. So I think, not many actors have that ability to just make you care by looking at them, and she really pulls that off well in this film. But that's unfortunately as far as I can go with my care about her character.
Let's go to spoilers.
Okay, are you ready to go to spoilers?
I am.
Okay.
I think we've had enough of the...
Okay.
Yeah, go into the
specifics. If you haven't seen Tron Ares, come back to this review.
You probably don't need to. Yeah, you don't really need to. You can listen to us. Just going to get more unhinged from here.
Yeah.
I have a part of this movie I hated, but it's like towards the very end.
Okay,
so
can I talk about Gillian Anderson's character here?
Oh, sure, because I may have something to say back.
Yeah, and she'll play into this ending in a way. But when we come to find her, she is Elizabeth Dillinger. She's playing the mom of Julian Dillinger in the film, played by Evan Peters. She used to run the Dillinger technology company, whatever it's called, the Dillinger Industries or something. I forget whatever it's called. Anyways, she used to run the company, but she's still there. Like, she's part of the board and she's kind of
just around a lot.
Yes.
She's just like always like up in her son's grill, like talking about how disappointed she is.
You have Gillian Anderson in your film, and the only thing you gave her to do was constantly just show up in a room every 20 minutes and just say, the board's not going to be happy with this. And then she just disappears for another 10 minutes, comes back, and she's like, the board is really getting angry with you.
It's weird, but she's one of my favorite actresses, and and it's true here too, I'm always so surprised at her utter devotion to terrible material.
Yes.
And it happens all the time in the X-Files. You'll like the worst X-Files episode of all time. She'll be giving like the performance of a lifetime. She's not giving the performance of a lifetime in this movie, but she's pretty good. It's just that, again, her character is extremely flatly written.
Yeah.
But she does have like a screen presence that I always just appreciate as an audience member.
I completely agree. I love her. She was unutilized. It was unfair. And they just made her do nothing. She just shows up.
I know.
And
Her
then,
brat kid.
Yes. And then right at the end, she shows up and she's like, the board's had enough of you.
Yeah. She loves the board. I didn't realize how much she talked about the board. It's
literally, that's all she does.
Guys, I'm not even drunk yet. I gotta have the martini. Oh my God.
The computer program that took over as the directive comes in and she kills Gillian Anderson's character, and then Evan Peters is like all sad over her for like a quick moment, and I'm just like, I don't feel any of this because none of it was built up. Literally, they're in a relationship, but they don't have a relationship. The only thing I learned from this whole relationship is that the board is unhappy with him and that she used to run the company.
Yeah.
And so she dies. Apparently it's something to grieve. He decides to digitize himself into the grid of the Dillinger Industries, whatever. Then this is what makes me extremely angry.
Yeah, so I probably didn't understand what this was about. So I want to
Okay.
hear. I want to hear about this.
So we get this final sequence with this postcard note in which Ares has written to Eve Kim saying that, he's off on a little adventure and he is learning about himself, etc., etc. And he pulls up a photo. And the photo is of the character Cora, played by Olivia Wilde in Tron Legacy. And this again annoyed the out of me, because here we are pulling a little piece from a movie that wasn't alluded to in any deeper fashion in this movie, and again pulling at the strings. And this was specifically intentional because it's pointing to a next movie. It's pointing to another movie in which her character is going to return for whatever reason. This movie didn't make me care enough to care at all. I think this movie is going to bomb. That's my opinion.
You know what's funny? Sorry to interrupt you. Before you got to the theater, I used the restroom, and somebody who worked at the theater was on the phone in the restroom, and he was like, "Bro, I'm getting off of work early." He's like, "They only sold like 30 tickets tonight, so they let me go."
Oh my God.
So yeah, maybe you're right. It is going to bomb.
I think this movie's going to bomb. I think the reviews aren't going to do it well. I don't think there's going to be enough talking about it. Wait, 9 Inch Nails, I know. Sad.
The money he made from that tour, I can't even imagine. So it's fine.
I don't even know where I'm going with this. I feel like thrown for a loop.
I love Angry Matt. I wish Angry Matt was around more often. Like, not constantly, but maybe like twice a year. I love Angry Matt.
If anything, I wish I had time to kind of form all my thoughts in a deeper way, because I might be a little bit.
But we have to go back to New York Film Festival and watch good movies tomorrow, so we don't have time. Can I say the thing that really annoyed me?
Yes.
So the thing that I thought was most stupid in this movie is, what's her name? Alpha or something? Athena.
Yes.
Athena, the main villain, is about to kill Greta Lee. And it starts like the sprinklers go off.
Yeah.
And she feels the rain.
Like a rain, yeah.
Like it had said prior, Jared Leto had said this prior, something about feeling something. So she feels it, and she stops for a minute. She has like an existential moment, which I thought this was really stupid. And it could have been a touching moment if this movie was a lot more philosophically interested than it is.
Yeah.
But I think even funnier is it has a close-up on her hand feeling the water, except she's wearing a glove.
Yeah.
She can't feel it.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think back to Greta Lee's character, like the conversation about her sister in the flashbacks and about her dying from cancer. I just found that to be so hollow and so insensitive when you have to use that as a plot device to make us care. Like I said, without doing any of the work to actually make us care for these characters, you have to use these little story beats as plot devices to concoct and manufacture emotion. And that becomes my main problem with the film, because this film is supposed to be about how you have one life and how important that one life is. But you made a film that dissected that so poorly and without any emotion.
It basically just told it to you.
Yes, It basically just told it to you. That's why I said it was offensive right off the bat of this review. Because if you're going to make a film that's about the importance of life, make it about the importance of life. Like, lean into that every single moment. The deepest we get is those raindrops. And that's it. If that had played maybe throughout the film in like different ways, then I would have found something of interest to that. Even in Tron Legacy, I could think of things that were played throughout that movie that picked up those beats.
I keep mentioning Blade Runner 2049, but there's a long history of these things, like Neil Stephenson, who wrote Snow Crash. There's nothing wrong with retreading a story. Just about everything that we see and love or dislike is a story we've seen before, but there are ways to engage with it that can engage your audience on like an emotional, intellectual level, and you can't just yada yada that stuff because your visual effects are so good.
The whole movie has to be in service of this idea if that's what you're going to make the idea about.
Yeah.
And if it's not, it's pointless. I don't know what the point of this film was. I don't know why it exists. This has the same Rotten Tomatoes score as Tron Legacy does, and I don't, for the life of me, know why.
You're going to make me rewatch Tron Legacy.
Tron Legacy is a vibe. I'm telling you, I'm a defender of that movie. That movie has the aesthetic. I think it actually
has the score.
It has the score, but you know what the thing about Tron Legacy is the score actually weaves its way in with the film so perfectly well. The sequence that takes place, I'm stupidly blanking on the name of the character that plays like he's kind of like the guy that runs the club, but he's like the underground guy. But like he drops the beat like Daft Punk's in there, but it starts like this really cool fight sequence with Daft Punk like playing up there. It's just really well done, and the music is so well married into the film and the aesthetic and the action. And in this movie, unfortunately, it feels like a music video where the song, as good as all this Nine Inch Nails soundtrack is,
Totally.
it doesn't really ever feel like it's married with the footage and with the action.
It's a very propulsive soundtrack, so it's a soundtrack that works really well with an action movie. And this is sometimes an action movie, but it's also a movie that's trying to say something, and it says something really poorly. It seems like the score was scoring a movie that's not here. If the film was mostly about suspense and tension and are they going to make it, but this movie doesn't lean into that much. It really more leans into these philosophical elements that, again, it's more content to repeat than it is to explore.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You want to go to grades?
I'm going to give this a D+. Oh, yes, I'm giving this a D+. You know what? I think the acting was fine. The soundtrack was the best thing.
I thought Jared Leto was really boring.
Greta Lee was the best thing, and it's just because of her acting, not the character. The visuals, yeah, I think the visuals were really great, but they meant nothing. It was hollow. It was sad. I was upset. I was watching this like seething.
Is that why you asked for some of my beer?
No, I just needed... The best thing about this movie was that I snuck in my Wendy's hot chicken sandwich, my spicy chicken sandwich. And so I was eating that during the movie, and then my mouth was kind of too spicy. So that's why I asked for a sip of your beer, because I needed to get the spiciness out of my mouth.
When I saw weapons and the lady snuck in Taco Bell.
I don't know. This movie wasn't deep. And so my review isn't going to be as deep. But I don't know. I think I did a decent job explaining why I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to defend yourself to me. I love Angry Matt. I'm going to give this a C. I can't say I enjoyed this, but watching it in a theater, I did think there was quite a bit of artistry to the visuals, but you're right. It's in service of a story that is like so utterly hollow and such like retreaded ground. You've seen this movie before. You've heard about all these themes before, and almost everything you can mention that has these themes does them more eloquently and elegantly than this film did. So I don't have much to say. I wouldn't recommend seeing it.
No. Emotional bait, nostalgia bait.
Listen to the soundtrack on Apple Music, not Spotify. Listen to it on Apple Music.
This is really the most mean I've ever been about a film.
I think you should stick to your guns. I respect your moral fervor.
I'm sorry. This just comes from somebody who's like really a fan.
I've seen Tron Legacy, but I barely remember it. And it makes me want to re-engage with it.
I know it's not like the best reviewed movie, Tron Legacy, but I really loved it. I've watched it multiple times. I saw it in theater like 5 times.
We have it on vinyl too, but I couldn't find. We were going to film this fast. I couldn't dig it up. We have like 300 vinyls, so I couldn't dig it up.
But
that fast.
Oh my gosh, that soundtrack though, it hits the emotional beat so well. Like when Sam Flynn is coming back with Cora from the grid back into the real world, like the way that soundtrack hits, I loved it. And then this time, like Jared Leto as Ares is just like coming back, and I was just like, I don't feel this. Why? What is propelling this character forward? I just never figured it out.
I would like to remind the audience that at the time of this recording, that Jared Leto has more Oscars than Paul Thomas Anderson.
Maybe this year we'll fix that.
This is it, right?
We're
think good.
That's it.
Yeah. So go see Tron Legacy. Oh, Tron Legacy.
Yes.
So
go see Tron Legacy.
Yeah, go see Tron Ares in theaters. Let us know what you thought below. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Like Angry Matt? Do you want Angry Matt to make a comeback? Because I do. I mean, I don't want my husband to be angry, but I love when he has some moral fervor. It's amazing. So go see Tron Ares, and we will see you next time.